they had some more name actresses that had done some bigger things that they were considering. And in the end, they were like, we just wanted to go with the person that we felt God really had for the role. And so I just so respect them for doing that. And I'm so grateful for them because that really did just kind of start the whole process of getting to be a part of this faith-based world.
This is the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast, helping filmmakers who share a Christian worldview stay in touch, informed, and inspired. Quiet on set. Rolling. Today's host is Jaclyn Witt.
Hello, welcome to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. My name is Jaclyn, and I'm excited today to be speaking with Gigi Orsillo. As an actress, Gigi has quickly made her mark in faith-based films, starring in the spy comedy Sleeper Agent with comedians Leland Clausen and Mark Christopher Lawrence, who have also been guests on our podcast, followed by the theatrically released films Family Camp, Running the Bases, Pulled from Darkness, and Perfect Christmas. She's also been in more films on streaming platforms. After 40 years working in the production world as an actress, Gigi has recently felt called into the writing and producing side of family-friendly content. She is currently a writer and producer with Cloud9 Films and Kingdom Sight Studios, working on multiple projects and film slates. She continues to pursue roles in films that portray the truth and beauty of the gospel. And she lives in Colorado Springs with her 3 awesome daughters. Welcome to the podcast, Gigi.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Me too. I've been wanting to have you on the podcast for such a long time. So glad we can make it happen.
Yeah, I'm just so happy to talk to you today.
So I know you as an actress, I was just reading in your bio, but I'm curious how that got started for you. When did you start acting?
Well, I was very, very young. All of my family is in production. So my dad was a director, producer. My mom was an on-set makeup artist. My brother ended up going into gaffing and lighting. And so I literally grew up on set in Oklahoma. So it just was kind of the family business. And I was the kid that they could use that, they didn't get in trouble for keeping all night. But yeah, I just really loved it. I loved the family atmosphere because when you're in a small town, film community like that, like it was in Tulsa back then, now it's booming in Tulsa. But back then it was just very small film community. And I just loved that because it was just like a family, the best boys and the grips and all of the producers, they came to my wedding, and they're all just like my family. So I loved that aspect of it. And I never really thought I'm going to go to LA and try and become this, movie star. I was happy just being in that small film community. And then God kind of had different plans for me. So I ended up in California. I did study theater in college because I was like, there's nothing else I want to do. I want to be in film. And so I did end up in California and doing things on kind of like a bigger platform, being able to audition for bigger things. And now here I am doing lots of faith content. And I love this space that I get to be in.
That's awesome. All right. So having been in so many productions, I'm curious how you got into your lead role. How did that happen?
Yeah. So it was all God.
Of course.
Yeah, he does these things. So I had been on set with a friend. Her name is Jen Gotson, and she had been doing a lot of roles in faith-based films. And I said, I don't even know how to really break into this world of faith-based filmmaking because it's not through the same channels as like Hollywood, right? And she said, you just have to start reaching out to people. You just have to start looking for people who are doing the films you want to do and follow them and watch their films and tell them what you like about it. And so I just started doing that. I just started looking for films that I would want to be in. And I came across Nathan Blair, who I know you know, and he had thrown out something that said, hey, I'm doing a mock-up shoot of kind of a fight scene. And are there any people who know how to do stunts in Colorado? And I kind of raised my hand well, I don't really do stunts, but I was a cheerleader and I know how to move, I can help you. And he said, oh, okay, well, cool, And I said, yeah, I'm an actress in Colorado and can I send you my stuff? So I sent him my demo reel and he was like, oh, you're like an actress in Colorado right here. And so I mean, they were auditioning for Sleeper Agent that week or 2 weeks later.
Perfect.
And yeah, God just lined that up. And I love that Nathan and Leland took a chance on me because, you know, they had some more name actresses that had done some bigger things that they were considering. And in the end, they were like, you know, we just wanted to go with the person that we felt God really had for the role. And so I just so respect them for doing that. And I'm so grateful for them because that really did just kind of start the whole process of getting to be a part of this faith-based world.
Wow.
Somebody had seen me in that who was a producer on Family Camp and had said, hey, you know, I'm helping kind of produce this film and wondered if you'd audition. And I had auditioned, you know, multiple times for it. And I'm like, yes, I literally just turned in my third take here. Please, somebody in my corner. So it's fun how God kind of lines all those connections up. And
Yeah, absolutely. How did you get connected with Gene Wenger, your agent?
yeah, Gene was another God connection. I had been in contact with this guy named Greg Robbins, who was doing faith based stuff before anybody was doing faith based stuff. He used to do a show called Pastor Greg. And he had reached out to me when I was doing stuff as a teenager, doing faith based content in Tulsa. And I always was trying to get on production with him, but he was always encouraging me and stuff. And so I had reached out to him to say, hey, I'm, you know, back into acting because I took a really long break when I was raising my kids and
Mhm.
they were little. And so when I was getting back into it, I reached out to him to say, I'm back. And I, you know, if you're doing production or you know anybody else who's doing it, I'd love to audition. And he sent an email to probably 15 to 20 of his connections,
Wow.
which people are just so kind. Like, I'm just so thankful for the people in this industry that have such kind and generous hearts.
Mhm.
Like, he did that for me. And there were some great people on that list, and Jean was one of them. And so, you know, a few of them reached back out to me and encouraged me. And that was when she was in Florida
Mhm.
and she was kind of very, very small, just very boutique. And now, goodness, she's,
I
you know,
know.
it's just exploded. I mean,
Very
everybody's
much
looking.
sought after.
Yeah, I got in there on the base level. And so I reached out to her. And when I had a phone call with her, I was just like, God, thank you so much. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Somebody who knows what I
Mhm.
will and won't do, somebody who knows why I'm doing this,
Right.
you know, that it's not just to be famous or get to be on a movie, but it's because I feel like this is the avenue that God has gifted me to be able to be a vessel for him,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And so she just got it. And it just, again, it's just God lining up those
I
connections.
love that.
And I'm just so thankful. Yeah, she's great. I love
I
Jean.
know. Me too. Me too. We've had her on our podcast as well. She gave some really great tips on people who want to break into acting, ways to get
Yeah,
themselves set up. Yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah, no, and I love what you're saying about connecting with people and just loving how generous people are. And I really think like that is what God is calling us to do and to be, especially in this industry. I know Hollywood has their way of doing things. I think we're called to do things differently, and it might seem upside down to the world, by
yeah,
if we're reaching out trying to help other people's careers, to expand and strengthen and
yeah,
whatever, that God can actually bless them and us in the process. Like, it's not like God is picking one person that he wants to bless and everybody else, too bad. He's not into that.
right,
He's like, let me
right.
see how much I can do all at once. And so, yeah, I love when we understand that and we can have that open hand to help each other. It means so much. Have you had an opportunity to give back and maybe contribute to some other people?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, because I have been given so much, like, I love when I get to encourage the up and coming
Mm-hmm.
generation, or even people who are like me who say, well, I'm 40. Can I get into this? Can I do this? It's like, yes, there's never, a never too late.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like, I think living generously like that and being somebody who is always available to be used by God to encourage and to, help lead or guide or give wisdom or insight or anything, like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel very honored by that. And honestly, like, I just feel like getting to be in this industry, it is such a gift because it is different than being on a Hollywood set. Like, in a Hollywood set, it's like your union says you can't touch that thing because that's not your job, you know?
Mm,
And in this world, like, I get to live generously. I get to help in ways that I wouldn't normally get to help,
right.
you know? So I just love being part of this faith-based world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do you have any, like you said, you're going into production side of things now and writing. Do
Yeah.
you have any of those things that you want to talk about, or they're kind of still under
Yeah.
wraps kind of thing?
I mean, they're in all different stages, right?
Mhm.
Like, obviously we have a project that we've been talking about, we're excited about. I have some projects with Nathan Blair. He has a whole film slate, and we're writing a film, a Christmas comedy that we're so excited about.
Mhm.
And then my dad, being in the industry, we've always wanted to produce a film together. So we have a kind of Western-ish film that's all set in Oklahoma. And so they're all very different
Mhm.
and in different stages, of course. But I've kind of been like, well, it's hard because as an actress, there's not a lot you can do other than reaching out to people to say, hey, I'm here. I
Yeah.
would love to work. There's not enough that I can do just as an actress to be able to feel like I'm making an impact. And so I just really felt like, I have other skills. Like I can write, I can produce, I can help create things that I want to be in, that I want to see put out there.
Right.
And so I just have felt prompted, probably within like the last 5 years, that that's kind of the next thing. And I'm obviously not going to stop acting. Like I want to be in all these
Right,
projects.
right. Yeah,
But
exactly.
I don't want to just sit and wait for projects to come to me.
Mhm.
Like I want to be on the side of making it happen. And somebody who really inspired me to do that was Ashley Bratcher, the actress from Unplanned.
Mhm.
I just saw her and her career kind of, she was an actress and then she became kind of an outspoken person for that movie
Yeah.
Unplanned and around being pro-life. And I'm like, that's amazing, that platform that she has. Like,
Yeah.
I love that. And then she's like, okay, now I see this other thing, this other story I want to be told. And I'm like, that inspires me. Like she is going after it. I want to do that.
Mhm.
So I love being inspired by people in this industry. And hopefully I can be an inspiration to people in this industry as I
Mhm.
follow other people's footsteps.
Yeah.
So,
Starting November 7, you can learn the foundations of story development for screenplays with me, Jaclyn Witt, in my 6-week mentorship class called Screenwriting Foundations. If you've been writing for a while but struggling to win awards or sell your work, or if you're new to screenwriting, Screenwriting Foundations will guide you through the process of writing a satisfying story that works for film. Plus, every student also receives a follow-up one-to-one mentorship call. Class size is limited to 8 students, so don't waste time. Learn more about my Screenwriting Foundations class at faffassociation.com. That's FAFF association.com. Also, the link is in the show notes. Yeah, and it seems also that a lot of this side of the industry is independent filmmakers. And so
right.
with that, I mean, when you're working in independent film, you wear multiple hats. And so if
Right.
you are waiting for somebody else to create the project and the opportunity so that you can then act, you might be waiting around longer than if you create the project and the opportunity for
Right.
you to act.
Yeah.
And yeah, it happens a lot. I mean, if you go to any of the film conferences or whatever, and you talk to anyone who's winning any of those awards, and you ask them, so like,
Mm-hmm.
how many hats did you wear in the process of making that happen?
Right.
And a lot of them wear multiple hats. That's just the way it is when you're an independent filmmaker.
Absolutely. Yeah. And man, the person I know who wears the most hats is Nathan
No
Blair.
doubt. I was actually thinking the
I'm like,
exact
you
same
have
thing.
too many
Well,
hats.
not only that is that he mentors not all of his films, but some of his films he makes with teenagers. And so he's mentoring the teenagers so that they can make the
Yes.
films. And
Yes.
there's just
I've been on a few of those projects and it's really sweet to watch. I always kind of go like, you need a nap, but but man, yeah, he's out there doing it. And those projects are so fun. That's
yeah.
Crosswind Productions is the name of that ministry that he does. And it's so beautiful to see somebody teach a lesson,
Mhm.
teach these kids who want to learn and in such a humble, beautiful way.
Yeah.
So,
And you can see like
yeah.
in the product, right? When you're watching the film, you can see how much fun they had. Like what a
Yes.
great way
Yeah.
to learn. I love that.
Absolutely.
This makes me think that with that and Ashley Bratcher, like just realizing that it's not just a film, right? It's not just telling a story
Yeah.
through film. Like there's actually life that happens around the process of making it. It's
Yes,
so
it's my
much.
favorite part about it is actually being on set and getting to go, okay, God, who am I here for? You
Right,
know,
right.
because even on faith-based stuff, not everybody's a Christian. Not everybody
Hmm.
has a relationship with the Lord. And some of them have seen a lot of really bad examples of
Right.
Christians. And so I always love when it's like that light bulb moment and you're like having a conversation with somebody on set, with a wardrobe girl or like the craft service person. And you're like, oh God, this is who I'm here for.
Right.
It's just so fun. Like, I love that moment when God does that. And honestly, like, I feel like that is part of our ministry as actors, being on set is getting to live generously with everyone on set, like getting to be that light, hanging up our wardrobe and not throwing it on the ground, being on time, throwing away our trash, like just being a person who is generous
Right.
and
Yeah.
lives well, like, how can I be a servant today on set? Like, who can I serve?
Right.
And even in acting, like serving your scene partner, like it's not all about me. How can I listen to them? How can I show up for them and put the attention on them? Like, I love being on set.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I've been on set a few times. Like my son worked as a background actor, and so I went as a chaperone, and I realized being on set, it's really not the same as being on a stage, which is like that's my experience with
Yeah.
acting is, on
Yeah.
stage, and it's very, very different environment. And it would definitely, for me, it would have to be something to get used to because there's just a lot of waiting. And like, I
Yes.
don't really do well with that.
Hurry up and wait.
Exactly. Like, oh man, that was a challenge for me. But I do think, though, when it is my project that is being filmed, I will probably have a
Yeah.
very different kind of, perception and attitude or experience because I'm sure when you are involved in that way, like if it's your vision, your project, you're focused in a different way, I would imagine.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing is, I know when I'm on set and I'm waiting, other people are working.
Right.
Like, other people are working really hard to get me out there on set. And so just like being aware that everyone else is like busting their butts, getting stuff together. And so when I show up, I need to be prepared. I need to be ready and respectful. And
Yeah, I love that. All right. Well, I definitely want to get into some more insights, maybe tips or something for actors when we get into our next interview. But as we close out this portion, I would like to talk about like where people can watch the films that you've been in. Like I know Sleeper Agent is on YouTube.
yeah,
What about?
I think most of them are on Amazon Prime. I
Okay.
know Family Camp is. I think Running the Bases is. I think most everything is on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And which film are you most proud of?
I would say Family Camp. Yeah.
Yeah.
Family Camp was such a cool experience for me because, well, first of all, the casting process was just very hard and long, and it was in the middle of COVID.
Right.
And so we filmed in the middle of COVID. And again, that's another kind of random story is that I wasn't the original person that was cast in that role. They cast somebody else. And then because of COVID, God put me on that movie.
Wow.
And it was interesting because I've told this story a few times, but it's worth telling. Like, I had auditioned so many times and it kind of got pushed back and pushed back. And I was auditioning for a few different roles. And I was just really very kind of frustrated and worn down. And I heard God tell me, like, I'm going to give you that role. And then I found out that they had cast somebody else. And I was so just sad and disappointed. But I'm like, but God told me that he's going to. And then in the end, when I did end up getting to be on that set, I remember telling the director, I know you guys are like in the middle of chaos because everything's different than you thought. You're having to recast things, but it's not a surprise to God. Like, God knew this
Right.
whole time this
Absolutely.
was going to happen because he told me in January
Yeah.
that I was going to be on this film. And he was like, you're right. Such a good reminder,
Yeah.
And then in the end, it ended up being that they got even better crew because nobody had anything to work on. So they got all these people who were really, really even, better than they imagined to get to DP it and set decorate and all of the things. I mean, there's something really cool about working with people who are like the best caliber at their jobs.
Yeah.
And just like kind of looking around on a set and you're like, wow, this is amazing. Like, look at the detail in that random wallpaper that they found,
It raises the bar for everyone.
You're like, I better put my A game on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably my favorite film that I've done.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I've enjoyed talking with you, and I'm
Yeah.
really looking forward to talking with you more in our next episode on some things that people can learn about acting and maybe some tricks you've learned along the way. We'll see.
Great.
Thanks for listening to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. If you would like email reminders about newly released episodes and more, please sign up at faffpodcast.com/email. That's faffpodcast.com/email. Bringing filmmakers together for faith and family. That's a wrap.